So today what I'll talk about is one of the most crucial things or things to accept, not necessarily one specific instance, that is the most important to human development. And, like I talk about living that wonderful, beautiful life that we're all meant to live. And that's just, there are things that happen in your life that will put you through it worse than anything else. And eventually you have to get to a point where you have to accept that it had to happen that way. And there was no other way that it could have gone down or it could have went. I talk a lot about like canon events, and I know it's silly because it came from a cartoon, from a Spider-Man movie. But that's very real to me. And there are a lot of things, not a lot of things. These canon events are, we talk about the most crucial canon events, right? Whether it's a meme, a joke that you see, or whether you see a meme and you relate to it, or if it's from the movie or whatever. Those specific things have to happen in that exact way in order for you to become who you are meant to be. And in order for your life to be forever changed in a way it couldn't have been previously, right? And it's very difficult to accept, because in these situations, no matter what this canon event is, right? For someone, it might be, there are a lot of different things that it could be for people. For me, it was when I broke my foot. My freshman year of college, it was right at the end of the spring semester. And I was playing a hockey game, and I was doing so good. I was the editor of the newspaper. I was getting good grades. I was doing well mentally. Everything was going good for me. And then on a random Friday night, I was playing my first hockey game of the season, and I broke my foot, and I had to get surgery, and I couldn't walk for 3 months, and I was just in the house. I was cooped up. There was nothing for me to do. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't, really hang out with people too much. And at the time, I thought it was the worst thing ever. I thought it was terrible. I thought that there was no, I didn't see how it would get better. And then following that, I had a really difficult time in my life where, just some mental health things going on, which happened to a lot of people, right? And it felt like the worst ever. And it felt like there was nothing I could have done about it. Nothing. And for once in my life, right, we talk about controlling your own destiny and taking advantage of your life and doing things to live a wonderful life that you can. But for this time in my life, my foot was broken. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. And it's not like I could just like snap my fingers and heal my foot, right? I couldn't play hockey that season. It was my last season I couldn't play. There are a lot of things that I feel that I missed out on. And now, knowing what I know, when I was in the house, I sat with myself a lot, and I learned a lot of things about myself. And I learned that, maybe my path in life wasn't necessarily what I expected it to be, and maybe there was a different direction that I could have went in. And so that's when I switched. I switched from, being a sports journalist to being a teacher. And when I switched to being a teacher, I switched my major. And then I ended up working at, instead of doing an internship the following summer, I ended up working at summer camp, where I met some of my best friends of my whole life that I've ever had. And from there, a lot of other things happened where I met a lot of other great people and wonderful people that have taught me a lot of lessons and done a lot of amazing things for me. And so my point is, I'm able to see the silver lining now. And in the moment, I knew there was going to be a silver lining. However, it's important to note that even though you may understand that there will be light at the end of the tunnel, or that it will get better, that doesn't make it any easier in the moment. And that's okay. Because if it weren't for that time that I spent in pain or suffering or having troubles or having an issue, I wouldn't have been able to progress into the things that I progressed into. If I didn't learn that life is incredibly fragile and life is short, and that, things can happen like that, where you're on this plan and you're on this trajectory, And before you even realize it or have a chance to blink, you're somewhere else. And that doesn't mean you weren't meant to be on that plan or trajectory while you were there. It just means it was a part of your journey and it was on the road, right? My favorite verse of all time, and this is a longer video, that's okay. John 13:7. You may not know now, but later you will understand. It's deep, and it's a lot to take in. But just know that, I heard this in church a couple weeks ago. God is always using you, as we know. And he's really trying to get you to where you're meant to go. But God doesn't just pick you up from birth and put you there. You got to get to point A first. And then God's got to get you to point B. And then he's got to get you over to point C too. Right? We can't get from point A to point C without going to point B first. We can't get from when we're born to point B without first getting to point A. And point A might be a great time in your life. It might be a wonderful thing where you learn a lot of good things. But then point B might be very, very difficult for you, where you lose something, or you lose a person, or you lose people in your life that you never wanted to or thought you would. And you have to learn to take those lessons from that, knowing that, it's not that God's given up on me or that he's torturing me or that I'm not headed where I'm supposed to go. I'm exactly where I need to be in that exact moment. And it has to happen exactly the way it did, or else you wouldn't be able to become who you are meant to be. Looking back on that time, and there's other times too where I've had difficulty, where I know I've struggled, and where I've questioned why it was happening, or where my place was in it, or why did I deserve this? But now I know, looking back on it, the person who I'm becoming and the man that I'm turning into, and I'm very proud of myself and who I am and who I'll continue to become. I am not me without those things. If those instances and those canon events, those crucial, we talk about your top 5 or 6 canon events, the difficult ones, right? I mean, everyone has good canon events, but there's also the bad ones. If those things didn't happen exactly the way they did, if God didn't do it exactly the way, or if he didn't write the story with the exact words and the exact punctuation that he used, you wouldn't be who you are. And being truly you and being yourself, whether you're where you're at, want to be at in life, or you're, when you're in like a waiting room and you're going somewhere else, or you want to be better for yourself, it's all part of one big massive journey. And it's all working together to get you to that point C or that point D or point E. God is always using you, and you may not understand it. You might question it. You might question why is it happening to you or why you deserve it. But one day, I promise you, it will all make sense why the things that happen to you happen. Okay? The important thing is to stay faithful throughout it, and to believe in yourself and not give up on yourself. Because when those things happen, and they'll happen, understand that it's okay. It's okay to be upset about it in the moment, because we can't help it. And just know and understand that it couldn't have happened any other way. The way it turned out is exactly what happened. There's nothing you could have done about it. Doesn't matter how hard you tried or what you did. It had to happen. And you don't get to choose when those things happen. They kind of happen unexpectedly. But what you do get to choose is how you respond, and how you follow it up, and how you control your life after that, and how you don't let it affect you, right? Legends are not defined by success. They are defined by how they bounce back from failure or shortcomings, right? I don't use the word failure. It was shortcomings, okay? So keep that in mind, that when the things happen to you, the canon events, you lose people, or you miss out on a job, or you get an injury, or whatever. It might be terrible in the moment, and I understand that, and that's okay. But God is using you, and he has enormous plans. But he can't fulfill those in you without those things happening. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams and your goals. And don't give up when times get difficult, because God's using you. Live a beautiful, wonderful life.